Yes, hello.
We
So
can see your
my
slides. It's all good.
you can hear me too?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so again, my title is Virtual Jesus and Iconography, AI, Virtual Reality, AR, Pixelated Christology in the Digital Age. The Shroud of Turin, mystery and debate resurfaced in late August 2024. The specific reason was the usage of artificial intelligence to recreate the possible face of Jesus Christ. This information sparks a debate about the validity of this religious artifact, especially the digital portrait created by an AI that depicted Christ. Nevertheless, in today's my paper and the entire argument. Uh, my aim is to determine the perception of digital icons of Christ and argue a terminology called pixelated Christology. To give a more background when it comes to Christological in the Philippines,
You're fading in and out a bit, JP.
the Santo Nino. Hear me now? Well, hello?
Yeah, you're fading in and out a little bit.
Okay, I'll just go to that. Yeah, contextually, there are two prominent portraits of Christ in the Philippines, the Santo Niño, Holy Child, and the Black Nazarene. The former signifies a calm, peaceful, playful, and sincere Christ, that's the Santo Niño, reflecting the parishioner's spiritual childhood and childlike attitude in approaching God. Traditionally, the latter portrait got burned during transportation and miraculously survived the incident. That is called the Black Nazarene. It signifies a Christ who had suffered, can sympathize, bears miraculous healing, and is a giver of fortune or flourishing life. These two Filipino portraits of Christ influence and are embedded in the Philippines' cultural roots of Christianity. In this premise, cultural realities affect theology, specifically Christology, a topic of immense weight and relevance in Christian theology and practice. And how do we see, so regarding that, so how do we perceive digital portraits of Christ in digital spaces? Before doing that, in the paper of what I've done, um, I have traced the argument of the possibility to use icons, even though I'm Baptist and in my background, the possibility of using icons to which I trace is coming from the iconoclastic controversy prior, which is in AD 787. But even before that, there's this argument against the Christological heresies, which is the Dokeo or Docetism, to which they argue that Jesus only seemed to appear, that he only has in a sense, a phantasm. Another one is the argument that the monothelitism or the monophysitism at the same time, that Christ only has one nature and one will. But all of this has been argued against and it has been debunked, to which Chalcedonian Christology affirms that Christ, uh, in his incarnation, fully God, fully man, has two wills. Diatheletism is inseparable at the same time from diaphysitism, to which he has two natures. So to point out that in the summary of that section in the full paper, to which I can share if you would like, it has surveyed that biblical, historical, and theological affirmations of the incarnation of Christ, material, not phantasm, which is anti-docetism, two natures, fully God, fully man, anti-monophysitism, and two wills, which is also anti-monothelitism. So the Nicaea 2, to which I fast forward now, built its icon formulation on rejecting Docetism and monothelism, then recognizing the fully person Jesus Christ, to simply say that the use of icon is an affirmation of the incarnation. Icon, as they would use in those days, is uh, an image of Christ, and it is not something that they would worship, right? In iconoclastic controversy, AD 787, which is in Nicaea 2 specifically, Eastern and Western churches, respectively, have the official statement that icons or images are to be venerated only and not worship. Worship exclusive to God, while veneration is the proper posture for the icons of those deemed worthy, Christ, Mary, and the saints. However, it was not smooth sailing for those who had studied the church history regarding AD 787. Um, Another point here is for the Roman Catholics, Council of Trent, Session 25, reaffirmed this teaching on iconography in December 1563, that icons are to be venerated and not worshipped. However, during this age, icons were never just artistic creations, but they were theological statements that use specific symbolic representation to convey Christ through humanity. Like a picture there that I have included, the Pantocrator. Um, However, my question here is that the distinctions between worship, veneration, and special veneration were somehow ambiguous. Worship is for God, veneration is for the saints, and special veneration is for Mary. But when approaching an icon, the same posture is given and expressed through prayer and devotion. The second commandment at the same time the Tagalog is another matter to settle. Now, my question is in the realm of iconography, in today's context, these Christological tensions between the possibility of icons for ecclesiastical purposes. Now, in these digital icons, I move forward in, of course, 2020. In 2020, uh, I have the digital Christological icons that I have seen in my usage of digital spaces. For example, Confradia de San Agustin, Roblox, formerly under the name of Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Manila, created an account in Roblox for instructional purposes. Recently, it made a Roblox Jesus depicting the Black Nazarene, the one that I have showed a while ago, and also had the same tradition procession on June 9, 2024. That same date coincided with Black Nazarene procession in the Philippines, where an estimated 6 million devout Catholics participated. Another Christological icon that I've seen in digital spaces is a TikTok account at Believer Daily. Posted an AI video generated Jesus with the caption, "Welcome Jesus into your home," on June 13, 2023, that garnered almost 23 million views with 3.5 million likes as of April 2, 2024. Whether the account user has a good motive or sole purpose of monetization, the comments in the post were overwhelmingly positive. Comments were responses that they believe in Jesus and invited him to their homes and lives. The intent of this paper is not to determine the authenticity of the user accounts, but to point out that TikTok Jesus seems to convey and depict Jesus. There are other AI videos generated on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, but this is the one that I have seen very persuasive. Last one for my digital Christological portrait. It's not always an image, but also an AI word only, virtual Jesus or AI Jesus, similar to a chatbot, or we can say a chat GPT Jesus. Offers an interactive website. You can visit virtualjesus.com that represents Christ through asking questions and receiving answers based on his words, the Bible, and is similar to a ChatGPT AI. It cites biblical references and explains coherently, then provides more biblical support for its answer. Digital culture is here and now. Christ, like before, is also depicted online in several digital icons. However, it can never fully depict the real biblical Jesus, same with the dilemma of the iconographers. Hence, a proper view of this Christological phenomenon, which ought to be theologically sound and biblically faithful portrait is necessary. So that's why I call it a pixelated Christology. Uh, More critiques on the usage of icons. So what I'm doing here is, yes, there's a possibility to use icons, and but at the same time there's these limitations. That's why I'm arguing for a terminology called pixelated Christology. Pixels build the graphic user interface and visual in the digital world. To call a digital image pixelated means the picture is blurry and glitchy, and pixels are visible to the naked eye. Likewise, the higher the resolution, the better the perception of the image, and it is not pixelated. Contextually applied, when digital Christ icons are seen closely, one can only find flaws, imperfections, and sacrilegiousness. However, when a person is looking further and beyond what the digital icons depict, it leads to a better grasp of the prototype. That is what pixelated Christology means in this paper. A Christological portrait that is digitally through pixels depicted. These digital icons are all over the internet and other digital spaces. The need is for a higher resolution of Christology, which means more theological and which is also more applicable in in our practical living. How was I able to argue for this again? Because of the same with Nicaea too, who argued for the incarnation of Christ that makes the possibility of a digital Christological icon. But at the same time, I also align myself with Makoto Fujimara, who also argued for co-creation, possible because of sanctified creativity. Creation does not mean that we are equal with God, but God continually commissions God's children to create. Um, Another one is, once more, digital Christological icons are not Gnostic in nature, but affirm the incarnation as how it was argued for the incarnation in the Nicaea too, and transcendence. So it is both incarnated and transcendent. The pixelated Christology is convincing on the grounds of Christ's incarnation and sanctified creativity. And yet, digital icons are somehow still inadequate. Christological portraits in the logic of pixels, again, because it's pixelated. However, if this paper aims to only describe and explain the depiction of Christ in the digital world, then it suffices to call today's Christological portrait into the digital world pixelated. It is possible with careful navigation not to fall into idolatry. Therefore, I'm ending here. Digital icons of Jesus Christ, social media, images, avatars, AI-generated icons depict a pixelated Christology. However, but what I'm doing is, in order for us to really maximize this pixelated Christology for the role of instruction, discipleship, and mission now, I have given a practical recommendation on how can we practice this. Here are the three practical recommendations while recognizing the limitations of AI-generated Christological icons. The first, which is for instructional, devotion, and missional purposes, or discipleship, as we would say it. First is contextually translated digital icon. Jesus Christ's declaration, I am the bread of life, is a great illustration. Now, if you're going to use that for an AI digital portrait, after feeding the 5,000 and more followers, Christ offered himself as the eternal bread that would satisfy one's spiritual hunger. But for Filipinos or for my Asian brothers and sisters, eating bread was part of the daily routine in Jesus' time. But for us, it's eating rice. Rice eating is a daily activity, especially for Filipinos and my Asian brothers and sisters. An AI-generated image of a rice offering Jesus would appeal more to the mass of Filipinos, not taking the Bible out of context, but taking the passage meaning and translating it to the context of the people. Here is dialectical indigenous digital icon. From the grassroots level, one must understand how the people of culture perceive Christ as a savior, a lord, a friend, and or a farmer. But for a Chinese Christian artist, Sung Yang, Heki Yang states, Jesus and his followers appears as Asians with Asian apparel and other cultural expressions. In a Buddhist-saturated nation, a classmate of mine, a savior or a redeemer most likely looks like a monk who spent a lot of meditation, isolation, and rituals in a temple, and not the typical ones that we see in the Hollywood. But for Filipinos, Christological portrait is the Black Nazarene. It is bowed down by the heavy cross he carries, but does not bow his head down in defeat. He looks upward in hopeful anticipation of some deliverance and vindication. It is where many Filipinos manifest resilience in terrible suffering that they can still smile with resiliency but do not lose their sense of balance or even humor. And finally, to close this, virtue-driven digital icon. Perhaps it can help with the demeanor and tone of the photo. For example, Jesus is kind and gentle and lowly heart. AI can create a photo of Jesus who depicts kindness and gentleness. Acknowledging the incarnated Christ does not necessarily mean having an accurate physical image of Christ, since there are limitations to this endeavor. In a better sense, depicting Christ portrait, the revealed word, based on the scriptures, the written word, is a practical approach for instructional, devotional, and missional, which is the proclaimed word. I used Karl Barth's formulation there. Purposes. Therefore, the proper theological term, upholding Christ's deity and humanity, fully recognizing the validity and somehow limitations of Christological digital icons, is again what I call pixelated Christology. Thank you so much.